Have you ever thought about what Earth is actually worth? Like I'm not talking about how much gold costs or oil,
Yeah.
but the whole entire planet. Could someone actually buy it? Today we're going to deep dive into that question with this video essay that really gets you thinking about Earth differently. We'll be exploring all kinds of stuff from astrophysics to economics and trying to figure out if Earth really even has a price tag.
Yeah, it's a question that makes us rethink, how we think about value in the first place.
Hmm.
I mean, we usually decide, what something's worth based on if it's rare or if we can use it, but what happens when you're talking about a whole planet?
Right. It's not like there's this galactic marketplace where planets are traded like baseball cards or something. Or is there?
Well, that's what makes this so interesting. But I think before we get too far into aliens buying up planets, it's helpful to start with a basic understanding of what makes Earth special.
Yeah. I'm all for the basics. I kind of forget sometimes that Earth itself is already pretty amazing, even without the whole keeping us alive thing.
Exactly. And there are so many things about Earth most people don't even know. Did you know Earth has more than one moon?
Wait, really? I thought we just had the one. You're going to have to explain this one.
Well, it depends what you mean by moon. Most people think of the moon as a big round thing orbiting a planet, but
Yeah.
technically anything natural that orbits a planet can be a moon.
So we're not talking about all those satellites we launched up there, right? Those are made by us.
Right, those are artificial satellites. What we're talking about are temporary asteroid moons. They're asteroids that get caught by Earth's gravity and they orbit Earth for a while.
So how often does that even happen? Are we always getting and losing these mini moons?
It's more common than you think. Astronomers think these temporary moons are pretty common, but they're small and hard to see. In 2006, there was this one called 2006 RH-120, and it orbited Earth for a whole year.
Wow, a whole year. And I missed it.
Mm.
Can you imagine looking up at night and seeing two moons?
It makes you realize how much is going on out in space that we don't even know about. Absolutely. And speaking of things we're not aware of, did you know that Earth is moving through space crazy fast all the time?
Okay, now you've got my attention. Tell me more.
So our solar system is orbiting the center of the Milky Way galaxy, and we're moving at 782,000 kilometers per hour.
Wow, that is so fast. But to be honest with you, those numbers are so big, they're hard to picture. Is there any way to think about it that's more, down to earth?
Think about it like this. Every 1,300 years or so, we travel a light year. A light year is how far light travels in 1 year. And that's a really, really long distance. Think about the pyramids in Egypt. The Great Pyramid at Giza.
Oh yeah, one of the wonders of the world.
Well, that was built about 4,500 years ago. And it was built almost 3.5 light years away from where it is today. Well, compared to the center of the galaxy anyway.
So the pyramids have been on a road trip this whole time.
Hmm.
That's wild. But it also makes me wonder if Earth is always moving. Does that change how much it's worth?
That is a great question. And that takes us right into what we're deep diving into today. Can we even put a price tag on Earth?
I've always wondered about that. I know people have tried to calculate the value of all the stuff on Earth, but that doesn't seem like the whole story.
You're right. It's way more complicated than just adding up the price of all the gold and oil and all that stuff. Some scientists have tried to look at this question more broadly.
Like thinking about the things that make Earth able to support life.
Exactly. One astrophysicist named Greg Loftman, he actually made an equation to figure out how much Earth is worth.
An equation? I gotta hear this. How does that even work?
His equation uses things like Earth's size, temperature, how old it is, and even how much it weighs. It also factors in things like how much water is on Earth, and if the planet has a magnetic field.
So he's not just looking at the stuff we could dig up, but also what makes it possible for life to exist here.
Exactly. And according to his calculations, Earth is worth $5 quadrillion.
5 quadrillion. Wow, I don't even know how many zeros that is. But it's cool that he's using an equation that tries to capture all of Earth's special qualities. It's not just about the stuff we can take from it.
Exactly. It's a more thoughtful way of thinking about value. But there are other ways to think about it, too.
Oh, I know. I remember the History Channel did a show about this a while back. Didn't they say Earth was worth a ton of money, too?
Yeah, they did. They looked at it more from a resource angle, focusing on the market value of things like water, minerals, and fossil fuels. And they said Earth was worth $7 quadrillion.
7 quadrillion. Okay, so now we have two totally different prices.
Yeah.
And they're both in the quadrillions, and they both use totally different ways to get there. Kind of makes you wonder if these calculations can really tell us how much Earth is actually worth.
Yeah, you've got a point.
Hmm.
And to make it even more complicated, there are examples like that Reddit user who calculated the value of all the elements on Earth, everything from oxygen to iron to gold.
Wait, I think I saw that post. Didn't they say Earth was worth a crazy amount of money, like in the sextillions?
Yeah, you're right. They said Earth's elements were worth $15.8 sextillion.
Okay, now that's serious money. But before we all start packing our bags for a cosmic real estate auction, I have a feeling there's a catch here.
You're right to be skeptical. Those calculations are really interesting, but they're kind of just thought experiments.
So we can't actually sell Earth to the highest bidder. Bummer.
Not really. These calculations don't think about things like supply and demand, and that would change the price a lot.
Right, it's not like we could just mine everything on Earth and all of a sudden have sextillions of dollars.
Exactly. Plus, how we would actually get all that stuff out of the Earth, the environmental impact, new discoveries, all that stuff would have to be considered.
It's like saying, hey, there's quadrillions of dollars worth of diamonds in the Earth's core. Let's go get them.
Nah.
Not exactly going to happen.
And it would probably be a disaster. But these calculations do show us just how much potential value our planet has, both in terms of the actual stuff we can use and its importance as a world that can support life.
It's a good reminder that Earth is pretty special, even if we can't put a price tag on it. Which makes me wonder,
What's it?
let's say there was a galactic marketplace for planets. Would Earth be a hot item? Or would we be totally ignored because there are billions of other planets?
Now that is when things get really interesting. So welcome back to our deep dive on the value of planet Earth. Where we left off, you were asking if Earth would be like a hot commodity in this, galactic marketplace.
Yeah. Would aliens be like, take my money, I gotta have that planet? Or would we be like, stuck in the cosmic bargain bin?
Well, let's think about the competition for a second. The Milky Way galaxy, it has hundreds of billions of planets. And when you zoom out to the whole observable universe, the number is crazy huge.
So in a universe full of planets, what makes Earth stand out? Are we just another blue marble lost in space?
That's the big question. From a purely material perspective, Earth might not seem that unique, especially when you consider data from the Kepler mission. It suggests there could be billions of planets out there that could support life.
Okay, I get it. We're probably not the only planet with life. But don't we have some things that make us special? Like we have rainforests and coral reefs and, those hairless bipeds that write poetry and build spaceships.
You're right to point that out. Earth does have some pretty cool qualities that could make it stand out. One thing is the huge variety of life we have here. The mix of plants, animals, and ecosystems is probably super rare.
So we're like a giant space zoo or a living museum.
Maybe alien visitors might be really interested in all the different lives on Earth. Imagine them studying our ecosystems, collecting weird plants, or even watching humans, in their natural habitat.
I could just picture an alien David Attenborough narrating a documentary about us. Here we see the human in its natural habitat scrolling through its social media feed.
Maybe. But seriously, the point is that all this biodiversity on Earth could be a major selling point.
I can see that. It's like this giant experiment that's been running for billions of years, and it's made all this crazy and beautiful stuff.
And who knows what those things could do for a really advanced civilization? Maybe there are medicines we haven't discovered yet, or new forms of energy, or even genetic secrets hidden in all the life on Earth.
So we're not just a pretty planet. We're like a treasure chest of biological and genetic information.
Right, and that information could be super valuable to a species that's figured out how to travel between stars.
Okay, so Earth's got biodiversity going for it.
Yeah.
What else makes us a good deal in this galactic real estate market?
Well, location is always important. And in terms of galactic real estate, Earth is in a pretty good spot.
Really? I thought we were kind of out in the middle of nowhere, stuck in a spiral arm of a pretty average galaxy.
That's true. But we're also pretty close to other star systems and potentially valuable resources.
So we're like a cosmic truck stop. The perfect place for tired space travelers to fuel up and grab a snack.
You could think of it that way. But what's more important is that Earth's location in the Milky Way could give us access to trade routes, asteroids full of minerals, or even other advanced civilizations.
Okay, so we're not just a zoo or a museum. We're also a potential hub for interstellar trade and space diplomacy.
Exactly. And that makes Earth a much better deal than a planet that's all alone and doesn't have a lot of resources.
This is making me rethink that whole pale blue dot thing.
Yeah.
Maybe we're not so insignificant after all.
Maybe not. And there's one more thing we need to think about. The Fermi paradox.
Oh yeah, the big question. Where is everyone? If the universe is so huge and there's so much potential for life, why haven't we met any aliens yet?
It's a mystery that's been bugging scientists and philosophers for ages, and there's no easy answer.
But I thought we were talking about how much Earth is worth. How does the Fermi paradox fit in?
Well, it brings up some interesting possibilities. One explanation for the Fermi paradox is that intelligent life is really rare, like even on a cosmic scale.
So we're like the only ones in the whole universe, the only ones who figured out how to build spaceships and send radio signals into space.
It's possible. And if that's true, it would make Earth way more valuable.
I see what you mean. If we're the only intelligent life out there, then Earth is like this amazing oasis, a totally unique and precious world that we need to protect no matter what.
Right. But even if intelligent life isn't as rare as we think, the Fermi paradox still matters when we're talking about how much Earth is worth.
Okay, I'm with you. So what are some other explanations for why we haven't met any aliens?
Another possibility is that they just haven't found us yet. Space is massive, and even with crazy advanced technology, it could take a long time to explore even a tiny part of the galaxy.
So they're out there, but they just haven't stumbled across our little corner of the universe.
Maybe. Or maybe they have found us, but they're choosing not to say hello.
Like they're putting up keep out signs.
Maybe. They might be watching us from far away, studying our behavior, and waiting for the right time to make contact.
Okay, that's kind of creepy.
Okay.
But it also makes Earth even more valuable. If we're being watched by super smart aliens, it means we're something special, something worth watching and studying.
It's definitely something to think about. And it makes us wonder what an alien civilization would think is valuable about Earth.
Yeah, would they want our resources, our technology? Or would they be interested in something else entirely?
Hard to say, but it's worth thinking about that their values and priorities might be totally different from ours.
Okay, now you're really getting me thinking. So if aliens did show up, what would happen?
Well, that depends on why they're here. If they're peaceful explorers, they might just want to learn about us and share knowledge.
Like a kind of cosmic cultural exchange.
Exactly. But if they're looking for resources or if they think we're a threat, things could go very differently.
Okay, let's not go there right now. But you've made a good point. If we're talking about how much Earth is worth to aliens, we need to think about what they want and what they're planning to do.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another really interesting part of all this, the idea of ownership.
Ah, the classic question. Who owns what? But how does that apply to a whole planet?
Well, the way humans trade things, with ideas like property rights and money, is pretty unique in the animal kingdom.
Yeah, my dog doesn't have a bank account or a deed to his favorite spot on the couch.
Exactly. The way we do ownership is based on complex social structures, language communication, and enforcement.
So if aliens came to Earth, would they even understand that we think we own it?
That's a great question. And it brings up some really interesting legal and philosophical problems. Like, remember that case a few years ago where a monkey took a selfie with a photographer's camera?
Oh yeah, I remember that. The photos were amazing.
Well, there was a big legal fight about who owned the copyright to those photos. The photographer said it was his camera, so he owned the pictures. But the courts said that the monkey, because it wasn't human, couldn't own the copyright.
So the monkey was a better photographer than the human, but didn't get any money?
Yeah, it just shows how complicated it is to apply human laws to situations with non-human things. And if we have trouble figuring out ownership with monkeys, imagine trying to do it with aliens.
So if an alien landed on Earth and painted a masterpiece on the side of a mountain, would they own the copyright?
Makes you think, doesn't it? It makes you realize how much we just assume about our legal systems and how they might not work at all with extraterrestrial beings.
Our whole system of property rights goes out the window when you start thinking about aliens visiting.
It definitely challenges our assumptions. And it leads us to the last and maybe most philosophical question of our deep dive.
Look, I'm hooked. What's the big question?
What is our relationship to Earth, really? Are we its owners, its caretakers, or something else entirely?
Wow. Now that's a deep dive. I feel like we've been all over the place talking about how much Earth is worth. Like we've tried to figure out its price tag, imagine it being sold to aliens, but now I think it's time to step back and ask, what does it even mean to say Earth has value? And what are we supposed to do for this planet?
Those are the important questions. It's easy to get lost in all these what-ifs and thought experiments, but the value of Earth is really about how we relate to it, how we treat it, how we choose to live here.
I remember that idea from the video essay we talked about. The one about humans being Earth's willful effluvia.
Yeah, that metaphor definitely makes us think about our place in the big picture. It suggests that we're not separate from Earth, but like a part of it, a result of its processes destined to spread out into space.
It's kind of crazy to think about. Like we're Earth's breath being exhaled into the cosmos.
It is. And
Uh,
it makes you think about what we want to leave behind. Are we just going to use up all of Earth's resources until there's nothing left? Or are we going to choose a different way?
I think that's where the real idea of value comes in. It's not about how much money we can get from Earth, but how we can live in a way that shows we respect it.
Right. True value isn't about numbers. It's about seeing the real worth of something. Its beauty, its complexity, and its ability to support life.
So how do we go from seeing Earth as like something we can buy and sell to seeing it as something we need to protect and care for?
I think it starts with changing how we see things.
Yeah.
We got to move away from thinking that humans are the most important thing and start seeing how everything is connected.
Like understanding that we're not just living on Earth, but we're a part of this giant web of life.
Exactly. And everything we do affects that whole web, from the tiniest bug to the biggest whale.
So it's not just about saving the planet for like our grandkids. It's about seeing how valuable all life is right now.
Right. We need to stop thinking about saving the planet because Earth's going to be here long after we're gone.
Right.
The question is, what kind of planet are we going to leave behind?
A planet that's full of life and different kinds of creatures. Or a planet that's been destroyed by what we did.
That's the choice we got to make. And we make that choice every day in the stuff we buy, the clothes we wear, how we get around, and the things we tell our leaders to do.
It feels kind of overwhelming sometimes. Like, does anything I do even matter?
I get it. But I think even the little things we do can make a difference. Remember that monkey selfie we talked about? That one thing started a conversation all over the world about animal rights and copyright law.
Yeah, it's just that you never know what kind of impact you're going to have.
Exactly. So don't think that what you do doesn't matter.
So what can we do? What are some things we can actually do to show that we value Earth in our everyday lives?
There's a ton of stuff we can do. We can buy less stuff, support businesses that care about the environment, talk to our leaders about environmental policies, learn more about these issues, and teach other people. And we can get out into nature and appreciate it.
It's about making choices that show what we believe in. And remembering that we're all working together to create a future where we can all live well.
Yeah. It's not about being perfect. It's about doing better. And it's about never giving up on the idea that we can make a difference.
Well, we've talked about a lot in this deep dive. From like the size of the universe to who owns what to our relationship with Earth. We've tried to put a price tag on Earth, but in the end, its real value is in our promise to take care of it. So as we finish up, we want to leave you with this challenge. What will you do today to show that Earth matters to you? What choices will you make? What will you do to make sure this amazing planet keeps going strong for years and years to come?
The future of Earth is up to us. It's a story we're writing together. Let's make it a story about hope, taking care of our planet, and never stopping wondering about it.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep appreciating this awesome planet we call home.